Yeah, why?
Sure, you got it.
Came out. All right, we're going to call our regular town council meeting to order. First things first is approval of the agenda. The motion is that the agenda for the council meeting of Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 be approved as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Lockett, Councillor McConnell, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Any declaration of interest for this meeting tonight? Seeing none, we're going to move on. Today we have a presentation from the RCMP. Jillian Fleming?
Yep, sorry.
Thank you. So Jillian's going to talk about RCMP border integrity, which is a great topic considering what's been going on in politics these days. So
Yeah, exactly.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm Jillian Fleming with RCMP, and this is Jason Dickinson, also with RCMP. So we want to talk about the political tensions that have been kind of arising lately and RCMP's response to those tensions regarding border integrity and how forming better relationships with the public can serve an ultimate goal. So I'm sure many of you remember when Trump was first elected into office, there was a bit of heard at Roxton Road. It was in the news quite often, and what made that special was that there was a 5-kilometer stretch of road between the US and Canada. It went along the border, and it was an unofficial port of entry. So there wasn't a CBSA office there. People wouldn't go there to present themselves, which means that people were crossing at an unregulated rate. And so people who were illegally in the US would be trying to flee to Canada and to avoid being deported, but that the criminal aspect of being in the US didn't change by crossing into Canada. That's why they wanted to cross at an unofficial port. So that was closed in 2023. Things have changed since then, but the moral of the story is we don't want anything like that happening again, because over 95,000 people crossed at that point.
Oh.
So the border integrity mandate through RCMP really has to do with criminality across the border. And usually that has to do with, or usually it has like an organized nature to it, which is what we base our investigations on. And it usually starts with intelligence, which is why I want to form stronger relationships with the public so that we can form that direct line of intelligence. So I kind of mentioned them briefly before. RCMP and CBSA are quite different. We're both customs officers, so we both are concerned with security regarding the border. But CBSA has customs and immigration powers with legislative authorities, and their jurisdiction falls within the port of entry, so like Lansdowne and Johnstown. And they're able to process admissibility into Canada and process people's refugee claims, whereas RCMP cannot. And we're concerned because like we have criminal and customs authorities, and we're concerned with the border between those ports of entries. So if anyone's crossing between those ports, there's usually a criminal aspect to it, because if not, then you're presenting yourself lawfully at those ports of entries. So this is what a typical border response would look like from us. So someone crosses at the border, and we intercept and arrest, and obviously first things first, we assess for their medical condition. We want to make sure that they're healthy. Once that's, or like they're not imminently dying, once that's satisfied, the next point of concern is why they were crossing. So what we want to know is whether public safety is a concern. If they're just crossing because they want to get out of the US, we just, like public safety is satisfied and we transport them to CBSA to make a refugee claim. But if public safety is not satisfied, say that they are transporting guns or drugs, or there is a human trafficking element to it, that's where our concern lies. That has a national security concern. So that's when we secure those individuals, secure all evidence, and conduct formal investigations. So when we intercept people, like this can happen through different scenarios. And sometimes it can be at those ports of entries at the border, in which case someone is trying to cross at that port of entry, hoping that CBSA just won't catch them. And when they do, when CBSA does arrest someone for smuggling, if it has a national security concern, that's when they call us and we respond accordingly and investigate. And then what can also happen is interception through our natural process of policing. So it could be something as simple as the traffic stop because we think someone is drunk driving, and it just happens that they can't present us with any proof of Canadian citizenship. Or it can be on a larger scale if there's any organized crime aspect in regards to like importation and exportation of guns, drugs, human trafficking. Again, that has national security concerns, and that's where we base our investigations. But what I want to talk about more so today is civilian and technology observations and detections, because like I said, that's where we base our intelligence, and I want to create more awareness in that regard. So what we're looking for, sometimes it can be very straightforward. If you're on the water's edge and you see someone cross from one side to the other, it's a pretty straightforward done deal. In the winter, that can look like someone who's crossing on foot or on sleds, like snowmobiles, or what's more often in summer is someone who's crossing by boat or by raft. And what can also happen, and we've seen in the past, is aircrafts, whether that's like drones or float planes or helicopters, going from one side to the other, setting down for a very short period of time and then coming back. Like that's a very straightforward done deal for us. Like we know what's going on, but it can also be less straightforward in regards to unusual behavior. So when people are crossing, they need to stage somewhere, they need to set down somewhere. So that will usually occur at hotels or motels, or they might just be looking to hunker down for a while, which can be at an Airbnb or Vrbo place, like one of those rental areas that are typically uninhabited. And when it comes to unusual behavior, I know that some people want to think like, okay, well, it's not my backyard. It's a little bit weird, but I don't want to make an issue out of it. But usually, if someone believes that there's some sort of cross-border criminality going on, if someone thinks that it's weird enough, then it's worth reporting. It's worth coming to us with, and that can be something as simple as like you see an unusual timber with people parking at your neighbor's dock with a bunch of luggage, and people come out with the luggage and go straight to the road. Some people may think, I don't want to get involved in people's business, but that is definitely something we're looking out for. And it may be something that's unusual to most people, but there's certain aspects of that pertain to the border, and we want people to be looking out for something like that. So when something does occur, there are certain things that are useful for investigators, and that's daytime location and details. So we want descriptions. We want descriptions of people that were involved, what they were doing, and we want descriptions of the vessels that they were using. So if they're using a boat, make, model, color, logos, and ideally bound numbers or license plate numbers. Or if there's a float plane, there's usually the identifying numbers on the bottom of the wing. So, but yeah, any details that you can get that helps us further our investigation. It sends us in certain directions. And in an ideal world, taking pictures and having security camera footage is what we want most. But I also want to iterate that our mandate is border security. So we can't respond to any criminal call. Only to calls that are with respect to border security. So if there is anything that is of concern, definitely call your local police service. And we also have a partnership with OPP. So if there is ever any uncertainty as to whether or not it does have anything to do with us, you can call OPP and OPP can determine whether or not to call us. But if you are calling us, these are the ways that you can contact us. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Julian. I have a quick question. So Kingston is the closest detachment for us for here?
Yeah, Kingston is the closest. The next closest would be Cornwall.
Wow. So would it be best for like our citizens and our residents if they notice something to call OPP? Because we have a station right in town.
If you know, like, if it's, if you see someone like crossing, yeah, you could call us. I mean, I'll hand out some business cards as well. And if you are able to distribute those, people can use those. But if it's something uncertain that is of criminal nature, but you don't know if it has anything to do with border integrity, you call OPP. It can't hurt to call OPP, and they can call us anyway.
And one more question on my behalf. Is there increased work for you guys now? Like, is there a mandate put down by the feds to increase your security?
The mandate, yes. So there's been a very high influx of resources, time, and money being put into the border as a response to the political concerns. And that's why I want to increase awareness so that we can all work together as to make everyone's job a little bit easier and make the border a little bit safer.
Very good. Councillor Kirkby?
Through you, Mayor Shankar. How are you getting this message out besides council? I see you have all kinds of different things on there, but are you using social media? Are you interacting with local newspapers that are along Lake Ontario and St. Lawrence River corridor? How are we getting the message out to the?
We're kind of doing this step by step. So I've also been talking to other representatives of the public, like church ministers, just people who are highly integrated with public members, people who are particularly living along the river. But it's kind of, we're making it work as we go.
I think the social media avenue is, you know, if it's a main concern in the public, you know, it definitely goes, and maybe the town could, if you guys have some kind of social media platform that you're sharing this information on, the town could share it amongst on their website and social media.
We'll have posts on our RCMP Twitter page. I just want to share those posts. And on any particular videos, we very much appreciate that.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Campbell?
Just a quick question, for pleasure craft, whether it's kayaks or rowboats or canoes, like, would you recommend not going across the river? As I sometimes do to see the far shore.
Well, you can, you just need to call it in. So you just need to present yourself. CBSA has a number that you can call that just saying that you are crossing. So when we are on the boats, we know, and then you'll get a reference number saying that you are able to cross, like they've cleared you to cross. And then when we do see you on the water, you can just tell us the reference number. And,
Okay.
I'll just add that under the Customs Act, there's 4 grounds basically where you need to report to the country.
Okay.
Either coming back to Canada or going into New York. If you've anchored, if you've touched ground, if you've moored, if you've met up with another vessel on the water. So you and your friend are now in the US and you've come together.
Yeah.
You've now met a reporting requirement. If you pass anything, any type of good between you or another boat or land, you've now met the reporting requirement. If you're simply just kayaking or pleasure boating and say you're going around Hill Island and you've entered into the US, if you don't do any of those 4 things, yeah, you're good to go. There's no reporting requirement. But as soon as when you touch land, anchor, moor, meet with another vessel, as explained, then yeah, you have to report back into the country.
Okay, thank you.
And into that country.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Councillor Young?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Do you have any like brochures that we could put down at our marina or anything?
I have business cards right now. I don't know, do we have a brochure?
Right now, in all the marinas, the RCMP actually has a sign. It's I don't know, maybe 3x5. It's part of the old Border Watch program. Simply putting out the message like, you see something suspicious, call the RCMP. And I'm pretty sure it's a partnership with the OPP as well. So as for an actual brochure, there's a bit of a media campaign that's being developed in the background of all this. Obviously that's outside of our realm to the divisional level. But Customs Planning's approach to this is to get out and say, hey, listen, we're your local Mounties, and we need to start meeting people. And ultimately, there's up until this new posture, there was only 9 people in Kingston detachment. That's now grown to 25 people. But there's 5,000 residents in Prescott, right? Like, and our border goes from Cardinal to Niagara on the lake. So it's pretty ridiculous to try to control that with not with 25 people, but the more buy-in we can get from the communities. Obviously, you guys are the local eyes and ears. And part of her presentation was like, you guys know when something's not right. Like, you know that your neighbor has a 16-foot tin boat. Well, now all of a sudden, a 30-foot bow rider or something pulled into his dock. That's not good. You know your neighbors are Airbnbs or VRBOs. Now all of a sudden, random people start showing up. That's not right. And those are the things that you guys need to push out to your communities that we need to call. So, thanks. Didn't hijack you there.
Councillor Burton?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Thank you for your presentation as well. It's really enlightening that we have this going on in our backyards, essentially, right?
Yeah.
I think it's important too. Have you reached out to the local marinas and doing a little presentation, a little spiel there for the marina staff in different municipalities along the water? Because we have tons of marinas along the water, and this might be something just to touch base with them and say you're here to help and so.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a pretty good relationship with many of the marinas along our patrol zone. What's usually happening though is like people who are doing something illegal, they're not doing it through regular channels. So they're not really using the marinas as much, they're not really seeing it at the marinas, but I do agree that especially when the summer comes around, just creating that awareness for people who are on the boats, who are seeing people cross is a very valuable asset for us.
Yeah, education is knowledge.
Exactly, yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have questions for Jillian? You guys are good?
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming. It was good. And maybe we'll have you back in the summer
All right, thank you.
and have our marina staff here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is minutes of the previous council meeting. The motion is that the council minutes dated February 3rd, 2025 be accepted as presented. I have a mover and seconder, Councillor Young, Councillor Campbell. Any questions or concerns in the minutes? Being none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Opposed? Carried, thanks. No communications and petitions tonight. Consent reports, the motion is that all items listed under the consent report section of the agenda be accepted as presented. I'll just get a mover and seconder first. Councillor Kirkby and Deputy Mayor Burton. Is there anything in the council information package you want to put out? Councillor Kirkby?
Yeah, I'd like to pull out the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus resolution.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, so what we'll do is we'll just amend that motion to remove EOWC. And as a mover and seconder, okay with that? Right, all in favor? Carried, thank you.
Man, before we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I missed, was daydreaming and I missed a declare of interest conflict.
Okay,
Yeah, so that'll be for South Gregor Minor Hockey and Prescott District Soccer Association. When we get to the community grant section.
okay,
Thank you.
noted, thank you. No committee reports tonight. The mayor's portion, I'm just gonna say, I just want to give a big thank out to our operations staff. Like, that was record-breaking snow for the last, you two don't know this, but we had over 60 centimeters of snow in 4 days. So we do have some pretty big snow banks in town, but all the roads are clear and very safe. I also want to give a shout out to our fire department. We had a fire in town last week, no casualties, but unfortunately, probably about $1 million, $1.5 million worth of damages, and six units. So our hearts go out to them, and if you can help, that'd be great. So just on those two notes, I just want to thank all our volunteer firefighters, our professional firefighters, and our chief. And also, we had mutual aid from Augusta Township. So thank you to Jeff Shaver and Rob Bowman for their help in that, because that just shows a good partnership we have with them, and we would do the same thing for them, just like we did for Brockville last year, I think. So on that note, I'm just gonna move along and go around the table. So we'll start with Councillor Young.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Not a lot to report. We had the planning advisory committees, and in that news, the rebranding strategy is now entering the stakeholder consultation. So get ready for that, I guess. And just some event planning for the spring, summer, and pop-up applications are coming in. And then the lighthouse RFP will go out. That's all for me.
Very good. Councillor McConnell?
I have nothing to report, Mayor Shankar, unless anybody has any questions that I can answer. I would like to offer my apologies for missing the last meeting. I did try for an hour to get in. I even called the emergency member at the town. Unfortunately, that connects with Public Works. I tried emailing different ones of you, but this thing just was ready to be thrown through a window, quite frankly. By the time an hour had passed, I wasn't a happy camper. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lockett?
Yeah, like I have nothing to, I've never attended anything in the last 10 days at home. I do get lots of pictures of the snow that you've been battling. We are working on a budget for St. Lawrence Lodge, so I have been getting emails and corresponding with that. That meeting's coming up, so nothing else to report for me.
Thank you, Councillor Lockett. Deputy Mayor Burton?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I was just trying to find the Shakespeare AGM date, and it's coming up.
It's coming up.
It's on my phone, and I didn't bring my phone, and I was trying to look for an email.
Any friends of Shakespeare would have got the email.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And I did want to do a shout out as well to our operations department. Those guys were like tirelessly like over the weekend with all the snow and stuff, and thanks for neighbors helping neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big thing too, because those hills are quite high, and we're going to have snow removal
Tomorrow?
Tonight.
Tonight
And tomorrow.
Okay.
Tonight and tomorrow night. So all those big hills, they're going to be looked after.
Did you attend Family Day?
Oh, yes, I did I did. Oh, that was so fun. Olaf and Bluey were there.
Ah.
They did a big production, and as soon as they arrived, they didn't even have 10 feet in the door, and they were swarmed by all sorts of kids wanting to take their pictures with them, and staff did a wonderful job. We had painting upstairs with Christine Sloan, and the Connect Youth was there, and tons of people skating.
Good.
Tons of people skating. So it was a really good turnout. Really, really good turnout.
In that weather, eh?
Yep.
That's great.
Well, it was a beautiful day until you went around the corner, and then all this wind came up from nowhere. But anyways, people came out, and lots of laughs and lots of smiling faces.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Burton.
Thank you.
Councillor Campbell?
I attended the fire administrative meeting on February 4th. They're going to be having CPR and first aid training on February 18th. Well, that's today. They had that. March 4th, an EMS is coming here for training. They're doing their third annual food drive at O'Reilly's on March 8th from 9 to 3. March 11th, they're giving early years a tour and a talk at the fire station at 1:30. 2 anniversaries to report. Scott Stevenson has been with the department for 9 years and Brent Norton has been there for 44 years. They did get their fire protection grant approved and they ordered the dryer that was gonna dry their uniforms a lot quicker, and that dryer was used on the day of that fire, so it came in handy right there. I also today attended an event put on by the Prescott Public Library. They had Mark Leonard talking about his hike on the Appalachian Trail. He did the whole trail. For those that don't know, it is 3,536 kilometers. He took his time, but he gave some great insight into what that would be like to do. And I'm not a hiker, I'm a cyclist, but it sounded pretty awesome. So if you ever want to hike the Appalachian Trail.
How many miles?
3,536 kilometers.
Oh my God.
Anyway, that was put on by the Prescott Public Library and kudos to them because it was a great event to bring. We had about 50 people there and it's very interesting.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Councillor Kirk.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Shankar. Just obviously, everybody knows that we got a lot of snow and Public Works was out in full operation. Streets look good, sidewalks where it made sense to look good. That's the one big thing people need to keep in mind. It doesn't happen overnight, right? There's only so many people, so many hours in a day and so many vehicles, right? To deal with the snow. As mentioned earlier, snow removal will start tonight. I think that was planned for later on. I think it was later on in the week, but now it's happening now due to the snow and continues tomorrow. Water treatment plant had an inspection by the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks with passing grade coming back. So that's great. Great news. I did attend the family day yesterday for a bit. The feedback I heard was, another great event in Prescott, no cost associated with it. When you look around, there was a lot of people there and a good mix of users. What I mean by that is, it's just good that there was no cost. Let's keep it at that. It made for a great day for a lot of people. And it brought people in to Prescott also. I know a lot of people there and not all of them were from Prescott, but the one fella told me that they were looking for something to do and they checked from Morrisburg to Gann and this seemed like the best event going on that day. So kudos to everybody that planned that and pulled it off. And just want to give a special shout out, as the mayor did, to the Prescott Fire Department on the response over on James Street. Was it James? Yeah. That I drove by not knowing that there was a fire and seeing the water shooting up, and then came back the next day and actually seen Brent Norton putting the notices on the door. So great work, great response. Unfortunate event, but they were able to contain it to the 6 row houses there. So great job.
Thank you, Councillor Kirkby. Just on your talk there, Mr. Locke, how many members of the operation team are there that actually go out and plow the roads? I'm like 6. Okay, that's what I thought. And I just want the public to keep that in mind. We have 6 operators, right? I saw a post today that said, how come the snow hasn't been removed yet? Well, the guys have been working 4 days straight through the night, missing family day, missing Sunday. And then that's the kind of post that you get. So kudos to the gentleman there and the staff for doing everything. Okay, we're going to move on to some staff reports. The first one we have is staff report 08-2025, the Rural Transit Solutions Fund Grant Application. So I'm going to read the motion, get a mover and seconder, and then I'm going to turn over to you, Mel. So the motion is that council directs staff to apply for funding through the Rural Transit Solutions Fund for the purchase of a bus for the River Route service. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Campbell, Matt, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Shankar. This is really a follow-up on a report that we brought forward at the last council meeting, just about the status of the River Route. So the River Route buses, we're currently using essentially a spare unit owned by the city of Brockville. That unit is at the end of its service life. So one option for replacement, the town of Prescott would like to, in accordance with the other two partner municipalities, apply to the Rural Transit Solutions Fund. So this is a grant program through the federal government that's specifically for transit servicing populations smaller than 50,000. The grant will cover up to 80% of the cost of buses, shelters, and other capital projects. And so our intention, if given direction by council, is to make an application for a replacement bus. The total project cost for the bus, and then to outfit it with badging and a few other items to have it road ready. So it's essentially the similar scope to what we're using now, would be $180,000. 80% of that would be $144,000. That would leave $36,000 remaining for the three municipalities to fund. At the end of 2024, we had an estimated reserve in the River Route project of $73,759. So if the application was successful in receiving the funding, the municipal share could be covered by the reserve fund of the River Route. So there would be no additional cost to the three municipalities. So that's, yeah, so the due date, I don't believe is in the report, but the due date is in early March for that fund. So we are seeking direction from council on whether to apply for this fund.
Thank you, Mr. Locke. Questions from the floor. So I got Councillor McConnell and Councillor Burton. Oh, no, sorry, just Councillor McConnell.
Thank you, Mayor Shanker. Through you, Matt, you mentioned the three municipalities. There's four municipalities, is there not? We have Brockville as well, and their contribution has been the bus, maintenance on the bus, and I'm not sure who pays for the driver, whether the three municipalities pay for that, ridership does, or what. But if we are successful in with the grant, and I certainly hope we are, in acquiring a bus, where does that leave Brockville and where does that leave the rest of us? Is there going to be some kind of reappropriation of costs, or what do you foresee?
Sure. So the current partnership arrangement, the three partner municipalities being Augusta Township, Edwardsburg, Cartier, and Prescott, they pay 100% reimbursement to the city of Brockville for all operating costs of the service. So that's the current financial arrangement.
Well, my question is, what happens when we get a new bus and Brockville isn't supplying the bus?
Sure. So
will that change the arrangement?
So the arrangement as agreed to at the last meeting wasn't amended, but certainly if directed, we could look into amendments. But yeah, currently to date, the status of that agreement notes that the three partner municipalities are paying the operating funding.
Well, wouldn't it seem, if they're not contributing as much as they are now, that some cost should be reapportioned?
I guess, Matt, Mr. Armstrong.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the river route wouldn't be possible without the city of Brockville having provided the bus, the spare bus, free of charge, and that was only achievable by them receiving other funding to replace their buses. So the understanding is that all future capital costs and operating costs is on the responsibility of the three partnering municipalities, being Prescott, Augusta, and Edwardsburg Cardinal. There isn't any requirement in the past nor in the future that would obligate Brockville to support this financially in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, you're good, Councillor McConnell?
I'm not good, but I understand the answer. I just think, I mean, I don't know where the riders, I know we've had some figures on ridership, how it's increased each year, and that's a great thing. But it seems to me the biggest benefit financially here is Brockville, because I think likely most people are going to Brockville and then coming back. So I have to wonder whether we shouldn't be pointing that out and see if there's any indication that they're willing to kick in because of the benefit to them.
So,
I'm not gonna belabor the point. It's just, it's my feeling.
So to Brockville, both staff and council have been clear that their support of the river route is limited to being the service provider. Any financial support is off the table.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kirkland?
Mayor Schenker. Matthew, when you say service provider, that just means supply the driver and
Operating the bus as well as providing the driver, doing the maintenance, paying the gas, all those types of things.
Yep.
Which we need that turnaround and reimbursement for.
right. So the service currently for repairs is done in Brockville.
Correct.
And it'll still be done in Brockville, but
I think that is absolutely the intention, to be converted with Brockville as we move forward.
okay.
Yeah, the one thing we don't mention is how many kilometers a year we put on that bus. Do you have that number at all, Mr. Long?
It's in the range of 120,000 kilometers, just
Which is enough, right?
more kilometers than are on most of our 10-year-old service trucks.
Right.
I mean, some.
Councillor Campbell, then you.
Through you, Mayor Schenker. So who would own the bus if we got the bus?
So as proposed, it would be the 3 municipal partners would all own it.
Okay,
So it would be a shared asset between Edwardsburg, Cardinal, Prescott, and Augusta.
okay, so we're not giving Brockville a bus, replacing their old bus.
Correct.
Okay.
Do you have a follow-up?
No, I'm good.
No. Councillor Young?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Would it be a good time to also include some requests for funding for a couple of shelters, bus shelters?
It absolutely could be part of the application. Yeah. So it is, assets related to rural transit can be included. And so certainly that is something that we could request in the grant.
Because I know sometimes I see people standing across from the old Forest Museum and they look frozen.
Councillor McConnell, do you mind muting your iPad there? Thank you. Yeah. Anything further?
No, I'm not sure how much you would ask for bus shelters.
I thought that was part of our funding proposal. Michael?
It absolutely is. Our preference, new bus shelters are very expensive.
Okay.
Our goal is to try and find repurposed ones, to be able to move them forward. So it will be part of our application, but our major focus is on the bus.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any further questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. All right, 12.2, staff report 09-2025, community grant intake number 1. So the motion is that council approves of 2025 community grant allocation recommendations for intake number 1 totaling $40,000 in financial support and the in-kind requests as outlined in staff report 09-2025. So I'll need a mover and a seconder, and then I'll pass it on to Ms. Miller. Councillor Campbell, Councillor Lockett, Samantha, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar, through you to council. The community grant program is intended to support nonprofit organizations serving town residents. The program provides these grants in order to assist groups with the delivery of services which work to reduce social, economical, or physical disadvantage and/or improve the quality of life for residents. There is a $58,000 allocation to this program for 2025. And intake number 1 closed on December 20th, 2024. The community grant working group met on February 4th to review all of the applications. As outlined in the report, you will see all of the applicants for intake number 1, along with their requests, their financial requests and their in-kind requests. For intake number 1, we received 14 community service group / organization applicants and 4 event-based applications. The total financial request for intake number 1 totaled $106,306, which is the highest requested amount we've seen through this program so far. The charts provided indicate the recommendation for approval of $40,000 for intake number 1. The working group also reviewed the various in-kind requests made through intake number 1, and recommend that any initiatives where use of town facilities be approved, and we calculated that approximate total of in-kind support, and it equates to $51,887. You will see all of the recommendations listed in the report. Should the recommendation be approved, it will leave $18,000 unallocated for intake number 2. Intake number 2 will open on May 15th and will be due June 15th, 2025.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Any questions regarding this? Councillor Young.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Just when I was looking through the request of Girls Inc. of Upper Canada, the $1,000 groceries for girls program, just at the height of food insecurity, $1,000 isn't a lot more to give, and I just personally, I would like to see that allocated. And I just have one other comment. Marie's Cupboard at St. Paul's, and I realize they don't qualify for this program, and I kind of looked into the community improvement grant, and they don't fall into that either. They're kind of falling between the cracks. So I was just wondering if maybe there would be some merit in exploring adding the institution category to the CIP. Something to think about for staff, and then also maybe we could explore some other funding revenues for Marie's Cupboard, just as a community service for them. And that is it for me.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell.
Through you, Mayor Shankar, in response to Tracy, there are provincial grants out there. There's Trillium, there's Seniors Community Grant, there's New Horizons. So there's a lot of different grants out there that they might choose to look at that I've been quite successful in getting for various organizations. So they don't just solely have to depend on Prescott for it.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, we can look at every one of these and say they deserve more money, right? So that's why we put a committee together, and the committee would debate that for, I don't know how long they would debate it for. I think you're on that committee, Ms. Campbell.
I can respond to that.
Right. So, as much as I'd like to say, oh, this group really deserves this, and, Marie's Cupboard needs $6,800 for a website, which, I think we could find someone that can do one for cheaper than that. So I think a lot of times what happens is people just find it easier to ask. If you don't ask, you don't get, right? So that's why we're seeing increased numbers, 106,000. When you look at the area surrounding municipalities, no one does anything close to what we do in terms of community grants. And we have something in our budget where we're looking to increase that to 64,000, this year, which will that be added? If that gets approved, is that added to community intake number 2?
Correct.
Okay. So, there is another opportunity for people or groups, nonprofit groups to apply again. If I may say. And did you say you wanted to respond to something?
Well, through your Mayor Shankar, just the food thing was a huge ask for a lot of different organizations, and we're trying to figure out how it can be more coordinated. Like, everyone wants to feed their groups, obviously, which is a great idea. But we were hoping, not through us, but through, for example, the food bank or something, that there's a more coordinated effort with all these food programs, because there were some right there.
Ruth, there were so many people asking for food in their applications.
There was.
Yeah, so, yeah, we're just hoping it could be more coordinated.
Now, having said that, there's a meeting coming up in the next couple of weeks where a lot of those different groups are getting together to figure out how they can better service the community.
Good.
So that is something, I think there's 25 different groups. So again, like I said, it's easy to come to the town, but there's 25 groups that are already providing meals and services in that capacity. So it's not always up to the town. Councilor Burton?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. 2 comments. The library actually has a group of young adults that play games, and some people come in and volunteer their time and their food, and everybody gets fed at the library. Which is really, really key thing. And another note, I really like how we're putting in the spreadsheet the in-kind value. Because the in-kind value, when somebody's applying for an application and they're asking for in-kind, they don't necessarily know the background information. And I think providing the background information, they're saying, wow, like the in-kind service for just big brothers and big sisters is almost $3,000. So just to keep that in mind for people at home that are thinking about, asking for in-kind service, it's not a free service. It's an in-kind service. There's a difference. And just to have that in the spreadsheet so people are aware of it, and I think that's important.
Thank you, Councilor Burton. Anyone else? Oh, I'm looking this way.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. And so that was actually one of the recommendations by the working group, is to actually include that value in their approval letters, so that they do have an understanding of what the foregone revenue or the additional cost to the town is. And I think that will obviously be the first time we're doing that. And I think it's important that people understand that not only are we handing out $40,000 financially, but we are either foregoing revenue or incurring costs to the tune of $51,000. So it is a significant ask and a significant investment in people and organizations that provide services in the town of Prescott.
Well said, thank you. Oh, yeah.
Just to follow up on what Mr. Armstrong just said, it's a good partnership that we're providing. We're providing a service and we want to help out as much as we can on these services, and that's why we do in-kind stuff. Awesome.
We're also fortunate, like, for example, we just talked about our Family Day event that was totally free. But we did have good sponsors for that, did we not? That helped. There's always community partners that will help pay for the ice, or, do the free ice, sponsored ice for the day. When you look at a couple of groups that want to have a tournament, that's $6,400 in ice rental fee waivers. That's $6,400 literally out of our pocket that we're just giving them for having the tournament. So we're more than fair and more than generous with. All right, anyone else? We'll look behind me here, make sure I got no hands. I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. All right, next staff report is 10-2025. Purchase of surplus sheds for pop-ups and community programming use. The motion is that council directs staff to proceed with the purchase of 5 surplus sheds from the Smith Falls Chamber of Commerce, a total of $15,000, to be utilized for pop-up vendor spaces as well as community services and recreation departmental activities, enhancing economic opportunities and community programming. Can I have a mover and a seconder, and then I'll pass it on? Moved by Councillor Kirkby, seconded by anyone? Councillor Lockett, thank you. Ms. Valentine, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar, through you to council. So we have a report before you tonight recommending the purchase of 5 surplus sheds from the Smith Falls Chamber of Commerce. This was an opportunity that came our way about a week and a half ago. I was contacted by the director of the Chamber of Commerce to see if there might be any interest on the part of Prescott in purchasing 5 surplus sheds that they've been using for the purposes of a winter market for the past 3 years. Unfortunately, due to the weather unpredictability, the market won't be moving forward, so they're looking to divest of these sheds. And we're very aware of Prescott's pop-ups operation and reached out to us to give us essentially a first right of refusal opportunity on these sheds. There are pictures included as well as specs. The sheds are 6x9, very similar, almost identical construction style to the existing pop-ups that we have. They're constructed by a very similar company that specializes in these structures. And they are 6x9 in size, and they also have a service window. So these sheds are actually set up to be more of a food service setup. They could still accommodate any type of vendor. They have a full door entry so that people could come in and shop. But then we thought that they would make great sheds for our food service pop-up vendors, which we are getting more and more interest from. So as I mentioned, they're in great condition, constructed by a reputable firm. And we also thought, given there's 5 sheds, we don't quite have the need for all 5 sheds at the pop-ups operation currently. But based on some discussions that we've been having internally, it seems that there might be a need possibly for operations and community services to make use of 2 to 3 of these sheds. With the new Seymour Recreation Complex that's coming, there was a notion of maybe utilizing it for some equipment or, a canteen. It could be operated as a multitude of things. And I know there's some needs for additional storage space for the Spirit of Giving program. So, nothing confirmed at this point, but I can certainly assure council that there would definitely be a need for these structures. They're also fully portable, so they can be picked up and relocated anywhere within the municipality if they should need to be repurposed. And the ones that we would be using for the pop-ups would be placed there and painted the bright colors that the theme that we've been going with in the pop-ups operation. And just as far as the actual pop-ups operation itself, I just wanted to take this opportunity to remind council of how successful this operation has been to date and provide some assurances that they will certainly be occupied. We are sitting at 12 applications for the sheds, and we've only been promoting them for about 6 weeks, and we only have 9 sheds available. So this would certainly fill that demand that we're already seeing for this year, and I would anticipate it only growing from there. The pop-ups themselves attracted over 40,000 visitors during just this past season, 2024. And that's only during the opening period of Friday through Sunday. So that's a pretty narrow market. And we've been using Environics to obtain some analytics data that's really demonstrated the connection that we're seeing between the pop-ups and the migration that's happening into the downtown and the waterfront and some of the other areas of the community, as far as even Kelly's Beach and Centennial Park. So it's really encouraging to see that has really been kind of an anchor for attracting people and really, encouraging them to explore the rest of the community. So as I mentioned, we've got lots of vendor interest, and at least 2 of the sheds could be utilized to support operations and community services. And this, of course, aligns with the official plan and the council strategic plan supporting those priorities as well. As far as alternatives go, council could decide to modify or decline to approve the recommendation at this time. Financial implications, as I mentioned, the sheds will cost $15,000. This represents a savings of about 50% compared to the cost of going out to purchase these new sheds today. They're in excellent condition, essentially brand new. And it's certainly a viable and fiscally responsible approach. And as far as environmental implications go, it would support environmental sustainability by repurposing existing materials rather than generating demand for new construction. Also reduces waste and minimizes the environmental footprint associated with new manufacturing. And to conclude, acquiring these sheds would certainly present a strategic investment that aligns with the economic development and community service priorities. cost savings, economic benefits for pop-up vendors, and the enhanced recreational programming all contribute to this being an advantageous decision. And the investment would certainly strengthen Prescott's reputation as a vibrant and business-friendly community, which has certainly been identified as a priority for council. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions. And as I mentioned, I've included shed images and specifications.
Thank you, Ms. Valentine. Quick question for you. I think 30,000 might be a little low on the estimate, right?
It was a very, yes, cautious estimate based on what we've paid for the 10x10 sheds. They cost us about 9,000, so it all depends on the amenities that you want included with the sheds.
And are they all the same?
Identical.
Identical? And did you say something about putting one down at Kelly's Beach?
Potentially, yes. I know community services exploring new programming at Centennial Park and Kelly's Beach, as well as the Seymour Recreation Center. Nothing really definitive decided on today because this just came to us about a week ago. So I just approached community services and operations to see if there was interest, and with having them in the room, I would love to defer to either one of them to speak to how they might use them in their departments. No pressure.
If you want to.
I think that Dana covered it already. I think that there's a great opportunity. We know that Kelly's Beach and Centennial Park has become a very attractive place for local residents as well as tourists. And I think anything we can do to enhance programming in that area would be of benefit. And I think having something like this would allow us to expand our offering and potentially continue to partner or grow relationships with third-party organizations that might be able to offer services as well.
That's great.
I'll let Matt talk to you.
Sure, yeah, just at the Seymour Recreation Center, my thought is we could certainly end up using one. Our intention with the pickleball courts / tennis courts would be to repurpose those as a hockey rink in the wintertime or as an ice pad in the wintertime. And so if some sort of winter vendor wants to come in and sell hot chocolate, great. But even if not, we may be able to stick it close enough to the pad and put the appropriate type of flooring in that it becomes somewhere for kids to tie their skates, essentially, to get out of the elements at an outdoor rink. That's always at a premium, right? So
Very good, thank you. Councillor Kirkby, I got you.
Through you, Mayor Schenker. Dana, I know you say 15,000, but you're gonna repaint all these, yeah? You have kind of a price in mind for that?
We've actually had to repaint a couple of sheds as well. They'll cost about $300 to repaint. That doesn't include the staff time that would have to go toward that. But I know in the past, we've used operations has used seasonal staff. So that would certainly come at a lower premium than using our regular staff complement.
Okay, and then there's thank you. There's two pictures in here, Dana. One has the two ladies out the front, and when I look in the back, it's all windows. And then when I look at the one below, I don't see really all that glass. So I'm kind of concerned about, I can't remember if our current pop-ups have a bunch of windows in them.
Yeah, so they have just two windows on the side. They're 24 by 36 windows, and then one main entry door. Right. Whereas this structure has one food service window on one side, and then an entry door and two complementary windows flanking it. So it would look a little more similar to the larger shed that we have down there, which is the 10 by 12 that has the main entry door flanked by the two windows.
And so there'd be no concern, I mean, from operations and Park and Rec, would there be any concern about the windows? I guess, I mean, it is what it is. On that, when I looked at this, I thought, well, that's a lot of windows to leave out in the public, some of them spots, but I mean, we already have them there. I have one more.
If I can also
go ahead, sure.
Speak further to that, I should have mentioned, so we cover the windows of the pop-up for the winter time with plywood. And we actually worked with an artist this year who painted them to look like windows based on a suggestion that we received from a local visitor. So they still look very appealing. It doesn't look like they've just had a piece of plywood slapped up there. Right. Similar to the marina, they have, nicely painted panels that go up to cover the windows, give them a bit more protection. I would suggest, but we, do the same thing with these.
Yeah, maybe in the spots that are as high traffic. I mean, the pop-up area is very visible.
High profile.
Do you know what I mean? Where some of the other spots may be not so visible during the darker hours, you know, is my only thing. And then, and I know we currently have a bylaw that we can't have an entrepreneur in a park, somebody, you know, but I mean, to me, one of these sheds down at Kelly's Beach with some kind of vendor there operating, you know, snacks, drinks, freezies, maybe some shovels and stuff might be a great opportunity for a small, you know, maybe it's even a youth entrepreneur or something, you know, that is looking for some kind of setup like that. That's a prime location. It is busy.
Through you, Mayor Shaker.
Yes, absolutely.
Just to address that, the Community Services Department is intending to utilize the, you know, the storage, it's not a storage room, the additional room in the pool building, to be able to offer a more permanent lending library as well as snacks through, like non-perishable snacks. That is what we are looking at for the summer.
So, sorry, a vendor would be in, like, I know the recreational library would be free.
Yep.
But we're gonna supply drinks to the public or?
So, yeah, I think the idea is to provide a little bit of that. In the past, pool would sell freezies, things like that. So kind of returning to a similar type of model. And then, I mean, if a shed was utilized, it could be more for event-based items. And so when we go to run a family day event or a July event, you know, maybe somebody runs out of there, that's something like that. So I think pretty much anything's on the table. It's just a matter of, you know, figuring out which way we want to go.
Councillor Campbell, then Councillor Lockett.
Through you, Mayor Shankar, so would they be, for example, Kelly Beach, would it be locked? Like if, let's say, a third party wanted to run a camp there or something, are they secure enough that they could keep equipment and stuff in there?
We haven't delved that deep into that for the Centennial Park area, but it certainly would be something that we would need to consider for implementation, yeah.
Was that one of your ideas though, to have them store stuff or not?
Don't know that we would go in that direction.
Right, okay, all right. And does it have to be 5? Maybe we don't need 5, or is the deal 5?
No, that's certainly within, through you, Mayor Shankar, you know, we're looking for council direction on that. Council could choose to purchase none, 1, or all 5. I would say that we could definitely utilize all 5. I don't foresee any reason why we couldn't. To be quite frank, I have no doubt that we could probably fill them all with pop-up vendors this year.
And through you again, where would you store them when they're not?
They would live where they're placed. So if there are 3 of the 5 went to the pop-ups, they would live right, you know, where those other sheds are. They would be covered over in the winter, have appropriate locking mechanisms put on them for the use of the vendors. And then, for example, if one went to Kelly's Beach and one went to the Seymour Recreation Complex, I would envision that, you know, that's where they would essentially live, and again, have a little bit of winterizing done to them.
But they're also portable, right?
Yeah, fully portable, so they could, the only thing is, they do recommend that you put a gravel base, or that they're on, if they're not on asphalt, that you create, you know, a bit more of a stable base. But beyond that, they can easily be picked up and relocated, and the cost to prepare that base is nominal.
Thank you. Councillor Lockett?
Yes, through you, Mayor Shankar. Dana, have you got any cost for transporting them from Smith Falls? I'm assuming all 5's the best deal to get to, and it sounds like you've got a home for them all. I'm just wondering about the cost to get them to town.
So we have actually, we haven't costed it out yet. We wanted to await council's decision on it. But I did do some initial investigating with the provider. They do have a provider that is prepared to deliver them at a very cost-effective rate. And as well, I had also suggested to operations and our community services staff that we may be able to use one of our local contractors to provide a pickup service. I think we used Miller's to pick up the recent playground equipment that we received from another municipality. So that could be an option as well, which I think should be fairly cost effective. And yeah, absolutely. If you're picking up 1 or 5, as long as the trailer is long enough, that's certainly the way to go.
Right, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, Councilor McConnell? Oh, no.
You're muted, Councilor McConnell.
That'd be good. Where is it? It's in the file.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You said these things are portable. We've heard that several times. Do you mean they're portable by our Volvo with the forklifts on the front of it, or they're portable and having somebody come in with a wrecker and move them that way?
Exactly, your first speculation. So with our forklift, we could come in and pick them up and move them to any location. Our operations department has actually relocated some of the existing ones a couple of times on our behalf. But they're not portable in the sense that they are actually movable. They're not on wheels. They're not mobile devices by any means.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. I'm going to, no further questions. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. All right, we got some more fun stuff there. Ms. Valentine. Okay, this next one is for information only. It's the 2025 budget. Environmental planning, development, tourism, water and wastewater. Matthew, this subject is all yours.
Thank you very much. So we're just going to go through the timeline, the environmental services budget, planning, economic development, tourism, and then water, wastewater services. So at this point, we're at the February 18th timeline, going through these particular expense areas, as well as going through the project prioritization, which is the next report. March 3rd, we'll go through revenue and taxation, and then the next meeting will discuss exactly kind of where we are in the process of that. So environmental services includes storm sewers, waste collection, waste disposal, and waste diversion. From a storm sewer perspective, really there's two costs here, a part that goes into reserve, and then an amount that we use for storm and storm related infrastructure, whether that's cleaning the storm sewers or in the particular case of 2024, we did some storm sewer or some storm ditches on Fort Town Drive, and we were able to use the budget for that particular one. Waste collection, we are expecting it to go up by approximately 2% in relation to the consumer price index. Waste disposal, again, the run rate plus 2%. And then waste diversion, that's the savings from moving the recycling collection to the provincial authority. And so that has occurred, and as of January 1st. And then there's just two other small amounts in there. One is for the compost area that we staff throughout the spring, summer, and fall. And then also an amount for hazardous waste day that we partner with United Counties on. So overall, that is decreasing by 89,000 across those areas, which is a decrease of 21%.
Excuse me, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Through you, Mayor Shankar, Matthew, the waste diversion there, the $103,200 producers taking over recycling, that's kind of good news. I don't think anybody would deny it, but in the past, we have paid for the recycling pickup, but when that stuff is contaminated, if it's found to be contaminated, then it goes to the dump and we wind up paying for it going to the dump. Is there anything in that aspect or anything like that going on now that it's producers taking over the thing? Is there any possibility of us getting billed for something else?
No. So with the producers taking it over, it's their vendor that's picking it up, and therefore they're responsible for any contamination. So it is completely off our plate. There is a reduction of approximately $50,000 in revenue, so there is a net benefit to the town of approximately $53,000. But one thing that was really a change for us in the course of 2024, container recycling, the tipping fee to put it into the recycling environment or process actually became $199 per metric ton. To give you an indication, for us to dump garbage, it was $109 per metric ton. So it was actually more expensive for us to tip the recycling and put it into that avenue of reuse than it is for us to tip garbage. So that would have been an ongoing cost had the producers not taken that over.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate the answer.
Moving on to planning and economic development. So our planning budget, the majority of that covers our shared planner with Edwardsburg Cardinal, as well as any studies, peer reviews, things like that we need to do. Economic development and tourism, that's going up by approximately 17,000. A portion of that is really in relation to providing year-round event support. So previously we did have the Main Street coordinator that was able to help out in the course of the year. That's no longer there. So being able to continue and to grow the events that we're asking all of our departments, but in particular active and tourism, for being able to provide a little bit of extra support for that year-round event support was important. So more than happy to answer any questions there might be. If not, then going to water and wastewater. So water is made up of two components. There's the water treatment side, which is where we take it out of the river, treat it, and then it starts going to our distribution system. The second part being the distribution system, which is everything past the treatment plant, including the new water tower, and then goes to each residence and property. All of our system actually runs all the way down to Johnstown and supports the industrial park there as well. So water revenues are required to cover the cost of operating and replacement of the water system without property tax subsidization, and any surplus is put into reserve to support those capital projects. So when we take a look at the 2025 budget, we're assuming a 4% increase at July 1st. That would help support the overall operations, as well as providing a small contribution to reserve of $68,000. This is certainly not the level we would want it to be at. It's something that we're going to have to continue looking at over the next several years to ensure that that contribution grows enough that it can support our capital requirements for street reconstructions every second year. When it comes to wastewater, wastewater is collected from each property and then it's transported down to our wastewater treatment plant in Johnstown. It's treated there and then returned to the river. So any surplus that is placed into reserve to support capital projects for water and wastewater. So in terms of this particular breakdown, again, we're seeing a 4% increase at July 1st. That will help support an overall contribution to reserve of $376,000. A large change for the wastewater treatment plant is that the anticipated repairs and maintenance items that are a separate part of the budget are not anticipated to be extensive this year. Part of that is in relation to the wastewater treatment plant expansion that will be going in over the next 2 years, but also it's part of the cycle of costs and ebbs and flows of those repairs and maintenance and large items that come up on a cyclical basis. So all told, when we take a look at the, let me just make sure. Sorry, so we take a look at where we are year to date, we've now covered all of our expenses for the municipality. Water and wastewater is going up by 111,000, but so too is the revenue. And we have a total on the operational, not including water and wastewater, increase of 5.1%. Now, we have talked about different offsets in terms of additional revenue, and that's actually what we'll get into in our next budget. It's a discussion on March 3rd, as well as starting to introduce some of the changes that we've understand now that were originally based on assumptions. So the health unit as well as joint services, both those budgets, we now have an understanding of, so we'll make those adjustments in that presentation as well. More than happy to answer any questions there might be, but we'll go from there.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Are there any questions regarding the budget? Mr. McConnell.
Thank you, Mr. Shaker. Matthew, could you put up the screen there that had the different allocations, recreation, for example, at 2 million something, I think it was.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Just for anybody listening's information, or maybe the press, that's a pretty big figure there, 25 budget, $3 million. But maybe you could explain to us what all is included in that $3 million. I mean, there's a lot goes in it. It's not just paying for an arena. Am I correct?
That is correct. So in that, there's obviously our community grant program, there's the library, there's the marina, as well as the Leo Boylan Community Center, the Land Chartering Community Center, Seymour Recreation Complex, the museum, as well as community services, the recreational programming, as well as our parks budget. So there's a very diversified number of items that come out of that budget, and one that we went through in some detail in our last meeting. Understandably, you were unable to attend, but certainly one of the things we would like to do is, as part of the explanation of this year's budget, we kind of break down each of those areas and showing exactly where tax dollars go and what it supports in the town of Prescott.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Let me ask a question. Is the the Seymour Recreational Complex in that budget?
Not the operation of it.
The building of it?
Not the building of it.
Okay.
So that would be as capital, and then as we get into 2026, that would become an operational type thing. We are anticipating that we might require some slightly more specialized equipment for taking care of the grass, getting to a level that you can play soccer on, things like that, line painting. But that will be a future discussion with the various user groups in terms of what our responsibilities are, which is what that is.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? No? All right, thank you, Mr. Armstrong. All right, next up is the project prioritization. Matthew, you have this one as well.
Thank you very much. So trying to run two screens at once, I'm not always successful in that, but we'll see what we can do here. So again, we're talking about project prioritization and moving on from there. So we have a number of buckets that we put them into. Projects previously approved and in progress. Our 2025 health and safety or approved projects, our 2025 projects that could be covered by the operational budget, the 2025 priorities, which are based on the feedback from council and staff. And then a couple of other buckets are development initiatives that obviously we're continuing to work towards, possible tri-county initiatives, and then possible local third-party organization initiatives. And then finally, just the list of what would move on to next year. So in terms of what's been approved, the wastewater expansion, that's a fairly significant project. We're slated to be completed by December 31st of 2027. So that will it obviously makes up a significant portion. East Street reconstruction, again, going from Dibble to King is our focus, but we will be putting on from James to Dibble as an additional to see, if we're able to afford it, it doesn't make sense to go that one extra block. The recreation complex, the phase 2 has been awarded a little over $1 million. Replacement of docks B, C, and D. The water treatment filter plant sand filter upgrade is there. Breakwater improvement has been previously approved. The zoning bylaw review, we're working with our lead planner to review that. The marketing and branding strategy, as was previously mentioned, has been awarded and is in progress. Downtown beautification study, looking to do that in the fall of 2025. One digital signage will be tied to the marketing and branding strategy. Town hall flat roof, we have done an evaluation of the roof, but really trying to figure out what that looks like over the next couple of years. Because not all parts are bad, but not all parts are good either. And then screening of the northwest side of Edward Street Bridge. Waterfront signs utilizing the smartphone app, recreation, lending library, that was mentioned earlier, the community room at the pool. Being a rec lending library, the accessible washroom at the Leopold Community Center would be pending the evaluation of the building, clock tower, framing and soffit to be completed in 2025. And then we also have $5,000 in there for bus shelters. So when we take a look at projects for this year, what would be the prioritized group is obviously the fire department replacement gear, play structure deficiencies. Those are automatic. They're health and safety related projects. Marina bathroom or washroom refresh, pool walls and floor repairs. Again, we did have an evaluation by the installer. They were pleasantly surprised at how well the pool is lasting. They did make some recommendations around some small repairs that we can get in kits, and then just make sure that they continue, functioning and not degrading any further. Tendering for the demolition of the water tower, that's the vast majority of the total of $767,000. The year 8 of 10 for the Brockville District Hospital Foundation donation, truck replacement that we mentioned a few weeks ago, condition assessment for the Salt Dome, river route bus purchase. Again, that's if we're successful in our grant, then we wouldn't actually have to use any of that. So we would just go back into the pot. Pool building repairs, marina pathway by the pop-ups down to the marina, brand strategy implementation. So once we actually have completed the brand strategy, being able to do all the things that we need to do in terms of change of signage, change of letterhead. There's quite a few things that even all of the logos on our trucks and equipment would need to be changed. So there's putting money in there for implementing that. And then doing a tri-municipal recreation master plan update. And so all of the 3 municipalities have created a recreation master plan, but being able to update that and then looking at it from across boundaries, municipal boundaries, and saying what makes sense where and where should we be investing recreation dollars to be able to support the overall population of South Grenville. So when we take a look at operational, the Leo documentary, I believe that was one of Councillor Kirby's thoughts and ideas. And I think he provided a little bit of an update when he was doing his prioritization that perhaps instead of doing funding, that we could actually support that initiative by doing a launch party, local marketing, that sort of thing. So which we could cover operationally. We are working with Augusta and Edwardsburg Cardinal and Edwardsburg Cardinal in particular for a bus trip in the summer. Partnering with the family health team, I think at just one of our recent meetings, we approved moving forward with health force innovations. and really putting the family health team with Health Force Innovations and saying, here's your opportunity to, there's an office that's already set up. It already has all the administrative, technology as well as support that you would need to open a doctor's office, and making sure that Prescott Family Health Team is top of mind when recruiting physicians. Movies in the park, we've seen that as a possibility, as well as movies on second floor. So our new space in the back room provides a great venue to be actually able to have an air-conditioned spot to watch a movie, and something that we would be able to do fairly easily. And then the River Institute membership, this was actually a thought by Councillor Young, and it was actually to a slightly different organization, but one of the two organizations that are in partnership is the River Institute. And what we've found is quite a few municipalities along the river have joined the River Institute as a partner. And we thought that might be a great place to start. And we, again, view it as something that we can move forward operationally. When we take a look at some of the projects that require additional scope or design, this doesn't mean that we're automatically not going to do them in 2025, but we might bring back a report to be able to say, we have some additional information, we have some additional thoughts and ideas of how we could actually bring this forward and make it a project that we can move forward. Then this is really the concept behind this one. So with the beach gazebo, it is at its end of life. We see spending 2025 to be able to do the design work, and then 2026 to actually be able to build the item. We're currently going through an evaluation of the Leo Boyden Community Center before we make any investments in it. And so that will allow us to really understand what corrections are required to be able to do the LBCC exit stairway, as well as the structural corrections to the second floor. There was previously the idea of a walkway onto the Marina Rock break wall. It's a very technical type of project, and we're going to need to understand how we'd be able to anchor such a structure to the rock that is basically loose rocks. So we need some additional time and understanding. We thought an easy fix for the black nylon netting at the ACC was going to be the Leo Boyden Community Center. We have done some initial measuring, and it looks like the Leo Boyden Community Center, it's first of all, the rink pad is slightly smaller, and the height of the netting at the ACC is significantly taller. So there is a question, does it need to be that tall? But at the same time, I'm not sure I want to put anyone that's walking on the walking track at risk of getting a bump in the head. So it's just one of those things. As we take a look at the salt dome, we'll also want to take a look at the snow dump and as well as the compost site, looking to see, how long do we have for the salt dome? And then if we're going to reconfigure that or replace it, what exactly does that look like? Then looking at the handrail going down the steps at the ACC, music in the downtown, expanding or reconfiguring the marina parking lot, and expansion of the river route. Again, these are all things that we would like to take a look at, understand the scope, provide some possible designs, and then come back to council at a future date. We also took a look at some of the development initiatives, obviously Churchill Road East and ownership of that, as well as producing a plan for the tennis court area seems to fit under these well. In terms of third party, attracting a circus, carnival, midway, we know the Lions Club in Brockville does a great job at doing the carnival midway. And so certainly something that we can explore there. And in terms of the Veterans Sidewalk, it might be something that we could partner on with the Legion and would possibly be a good initiative under the community grant program to be able to move that forward. And then finally, just some of the projects that we would move forward to 2026. I certainly understand and support the multi-use path along Sophia as well as Churchill and additional lighting. It's just spending over $1 million this year on getting the fields and additional outdoor activities up and running, so that will be kind of our next focus is finishing out the fields as well as providing those multi-use paths. So we are constantly reviewing possible funding avenues and applications to be able to see if there's any active transportation ones that might fit that, and we would bring that back to council in support of that, absolutely. So really, we're at a point where we just need to understand, do you agree with kind of how they've been prioritized? Which ones would be a priority, which ones we would undertake in 2025, and then kind of some of the other buckets. So really just looking for some feedback from council so that we can kind of take the next step in this.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Good report. It's amazing to see that we have $37 million in projects going on. So I'll open it up to questions from the council. Anyone have questions? There you go.
Well, I was gonna let someone else go first, Dave, but thank you through you, Mayor Shanker. Matthew, just so I understand this, so the 2025 priority projects, right? Council took the top 10 out of the list that was provided to them. Obviously, the first two, health and safety, they're going. Does that mean, I just did the count here, so we're doing 12. Is that what I'm seeing here under the 2025 priority projects is, are you proposing that we do all on this?
Correct.
First? Yeah, okay. That's what I was wondering. I guess that was my question. I thought maybe you were asking us to whittle it down even further here.
So what, if I may?
Yes.
So, we kind of took all the feedback from council and said, okay, so which ones seem to be priorities? And these were the ones where in multiple cases, there were multiple people that said, yes, I think this is a priority. And then we kind of said from a staff perspective, do we see this as a priority, yes or no? And so that's how we created this list. I don't think there's anything on here that we would say, is superfluous or not required. We're addressing fire department here, play structure deficiencies, kind of some maintenance type or major maintenance type items with the pool, demolishing the old tower. But really, there's nothing on here that I would say we absolutely shouldn't move forward with. Because a lot of them either relate to other projects that we have ongoing or will help inform how we move forward in terms of the rec master plan. So really, when we took a look at the list, they seem to align fairly well between what council was focused on and what the priorities are from a strategic as well as work plan.
I mean, through you, I always find myself cheating when I get this because I'm trying to think of what staff, like the truck. We already talked, we need the truck, right? So for me, I mean, that's a one. I guess that stuff has to come to us because it's capital. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So at times I feel like, and staff does a great job, is I almost just tell me the top ones that have to happen. And I feel like that's how it ended up here.
Exactly. When you kind of take this, I mean, you say there's anything on there that really I would take away that we would say, we sat down as a senior leadership team and said, okay, here's all the feedback from council. How do we feel about each of these? And this is kind of the list that makes most sense.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Armstrong? Ooh, thank you very much, Mr. Armstrong. Start working on those projects. Oh, okay. I'll call the question. No question. Oh, budget.
Not till March 18th.
All right. I'll be okay. All right. That's it for staff reports. So there's no resolutions, no bylaws. Is there any new business? No new business.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
I remembered the AGM for Shakespeare.
Oh, thank you.
It's Tuesday, February 25th at 6 p.m. at the Red George.
Perfect. 6 p.m., February 25th.
February 25th.
Thank you. No notice of the motions tonight. No proclamations. Is there any media questions online? No. No closed session. So we'll move into confirming bylaw 2025. Easy for you to say. The motion is that bylaw 2025, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on February 18th, 2025, be read and passed, signed by the mayor and deputy clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Councillor Burton, Councillor Young, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Last but not least, adjournment, that the meeting be adjourned to Monday, March 3rd, 2025 at 6 p.m. Time is now 8:07, moved by Councillor Kirkby, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burton. All in favor?